You are listening to NYC Radio Live. David Ellenbogen here. I'm very excited to speak to Matt Moran, a fixture of the New York City music scene for quite a while. And in this context, playing a huge role with the band he leads called Slavic Soul Party, and the upcoming Balkan event of the year in New York City, which is Golden Fest, happening January 16th and 17th at the Astoria Marquee. So Matt, good to see you, man.
David, it's an honor to be here with you. You are also a fixture and a huge influence on the New York City music and cultural life. So it's always great to see you and great to talk. Appreciate your work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's amazing. We've probably been in the same room like 150 times, but it's always been a pretty full room. So I'm glad to
for sure. I feel like we're often running past each other at like 10 miles per hour in opposite directions or something.
So I know you're kind of a xylophone or vibraphone like virtuoso. I take it the Balkan thing, is that your actual like roots? You have family from the Balkans?
Well, I don't play that card. It's not really relevant to my discovery and love of the music. As I said, I don't play the card, but I came to the music from the point of view of being a vibraphonist and studying jazz, interested in jazz and new music. And I was like, what is this amazing Balkan music I'm hearing? And eventually I decided I wanted to play the traditional Balkan drum, tapan it's called in Macedonia, or tupan in Bulgaria. It has a lot of names, different places. But it's a drum that you play with a very thin stick on one side for sort of a snare-like sound and a low sound on the other. And that is the instrument I most often play in the Balkan music context. So that is the way people who go to Golden Festival have known me as a musician for the past 28 years. It's very exciting that the festival's in its 40th year, its fourth decade.
That's nuts.
And what a thing of beauty it is, and such a powerful force, as you said, in the New York City music and dance scene, because it's not a music festival. It is this whole other thing, it's a celebration of music and dance and how they work together, and listening. It's like everybody's wedding festival or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's absolutely nothing like it, and it's totally, it's joyful. There's a lot of things you can go to New York, and there's people are stroking their chins, and it's very interesting. And there's there's different events, but just the pure joy, the pure intergenerational nature of it. It's a really sweet thing.
And it's so inclusive in terms of what it offers. There are chin stroking spaces in there. You can go and stroke your chin and oil your beard and let your ears soak in some very gentle non-dancing sounds. But there are so many rooms with such great dancing. It's wonderful.
So what was your journey with this music? How did you discover it?
Well, I was a student at Berklee College of Music in the early 90s and playing vibraphone, studying jazz composition, and, exposed to all these amazing composers and compositional techniques. And I find this probably the none such release of the Bulgarian Women's Choir recording. And I was like, wait a minute. This is not using anything that I have been talking about and studying and thinking about, and yet I find it totally gripping. Some of the songs will have an interval of a range of a fifth or something, and no one's soloing. But why can I listen to this for like hours every day? What is actually going on here? So that was the first time I really dedicated myself to the study of a folk music and started tracking down recordings. And at that point, I didn't have mentors or guides in this process. It was just digging up cassettes and records and talking to people here and there. And eventually, I got set on a path toward what people call the Balkan Music and Dance Workshops run by the East European Folklife Center. And my dear friend Adam Good and I went down, I think it was in 1997, to check out what this thing was, because wonderful musicians, Ruth Hunter and Christos Kovetos had told us up in Boston, if you really want to check this out, here's where you got to go. And so we went, and about 24 hours into this experience, I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? This is like bewildering. And by the end of the week, I was like, I will never miss another one of these, and totally hooked. And so that introduced me to all sorts of musicians in the New York area, master musicians who had immigrated from the Balkans, as well as American practitioners who have really devoted a lot of their lives to that whatever tradition it is that they're into. Because we're not talking about any one tradition. We're talking about just a huge, complicated mosaic of cultures and musics and dances and people, right? So that is where I first heard and met the wonderful Zlatne Uste Balkan Brass Band, who are the people who have first introduced Balkan brass music to the United States, and who started the Golden Festival 40 years ago. They also sprung out of these Balkan music and dance workshops that I finally found in the 90s. So came back to New York, and through Zlatne Uste and lots of other musicians, just started digging in and going deeper and deeper. And that's how I came to this sort of love of what the Golden Festival is. And actually, I will say, come to think of it, I did go to the festival. I must have gone to the festival in '97 for the first time before going to the Balkan camp that summer, because I did go to Golden Festival when it was still up at the Good Shepherd Church, I believe, up in Inwood. And when, it was like, oh my God, there are like 400 people here. It's gotten out of control. And now we have thousands of people at the festival. So it's wonderful to see how it's grown. But that's my sort of story of how I came to this scene in New York City.
And what have you learned about like the history? How did those instruments end up in the region? I assume it was from military bands, or you're
talking about the brass band.
Yeah. How did this whole tradition spring up, from what you understand?
So, total disclaimer, I am not an ethnomusicologist. I'm not an anthropologist. Like, I am very much an artist, and I focus on playing and expression and learning the tradition. But I can't speak from any place of authority. Of course, brass instruments are sort of credited to the Ottoman Empire, right? And the Balkans are right in between the heart of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, that also perfected brass instruments later on and developed many more uses of them. But so if we're talking about the Balkans' relationship to brass band music, they've had just waves of colonial, influence, or there's probably a better word for that, but colonial rule of them, with these different cultures washing all these different instruments, brass instruments in particular, over them. So I always see any local brass band tradition as a real sort of victory over colonialism, where you take this colonial instrument and you bend it to your own local expression, your own local artistic purposes. And that to me is a beautiful thing. They are inherently and originally military instruments, right? So I love seeing it subverted in that way.
Right. No, that's very interesting. And of all those different Balkan traditions, were there any that particularly drew you? Any particular countries' traditions, or?
Yeah, there are a lot of traditions that really draw me, and I think that it's easy for us to think about them in terms of countries, but it gets very complicated to understand these cultures in relation to political borders, which have been moved on people, over people, and not by people a lot. Of course, they're moved by people, but not necessarily the people who live there, right? So
Right.
I love the brass traditions, whether we're talking Serbian or Macedonian or Bulgarian or Greek. I really, Romanian, Moldovan, there's so many brass traditions. Those have always really spoken to me. I'm a particular fan of Southern Serbian style, and of the Macedonian style, especially the Eastern and Central Macedonian styles. Those are some that really get me. But I am a total sucker for amazing clarinet playing. So there's so much beautiful clarinet playing from Greece, from northern Greece, from all from and part of the Balkans is Turkey. Also, there's amazing Turkish clarinet. These are the things that have the most obvious sort of influence on my music. But I have to say that just in general, the relationship of dance and social role of music, just the sort of a lot of the cultural settings for Balkan music is as influential on me as the particular sounds. So there's just lots of different ways I find it powerful and beautiful. And that's what I love about the Golden Festival, is it is not just a music festival. It's a festival where people come together. You have dance experts, you have bands playing specific dance repertoire, and you'll see dance experts on the floor dancing their hearts and souls out. And there'll be people that know the dances, and there'll be people that are picking up the dances, and there are people that don't quite know the dances but know how to kind of get on and not interrupt it, right? And so you see the whole range of expression and enjoyment of that sort of dance music relationship. You have some people just doing their own thing, and that's also a part of the tradition at times too. So yeah, it's not just a sound connection for me, but it's like I found it very fulfilling to find these traditions where art and sonic expression isn't just for listening, but is part of healing community, part of bringing people into a circle, holding hands, seeing each other across the circle, and bonding in that way. To me, is very beautiful and very healing and very deep.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, it's true. It's like, I've told you I've had a lot of different musicians over the years, and one was Randy Weston, and he always emphasized that, like, music is not just music, right? It's always like in a context, and it's always serving some larger purpose, And he'd say, you can't have a funeral without music. You can't have a wedding without music. You can't do all these things. And it's true. I mean, I'm sure when you get some of your peers at Berkeley, you start getting really heady about getting into the nuts and bolts of just the sonic element. But if that's all there is, that's not the whole. It's kind of missing the real purpose of what music can really do, right? Like,
absolutely.
Like my old boss, George Ween, once said, he started a Newport Jazz Festival. And he said, you can't have a festival without people.
Right. That would be like the world's longest and most difficult sound check. And who wants that?
So with your band, the Slavic Soul Party, which is another institution of New York, what was did you have like a concept going in of what you were trying to go for?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I had been immersing myself in this world of Balkan music and dance, and playing with master musicians and American practitioners. And, I get ideas, and some of them are really weird ideas. And I was like, I really want to try this stuff, but I can't do this to other people. Like it's inappropriate to do some of this stuff in these traditional contexts. So I was like, let me start a group that combines, because at the same time, you know, I'm a vibraphonist and improviser in the jazz and new music and downtown music world. So I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm part of these beautiful, unconnected at that time, musical communities. And I was like, I'd love to take the creativity and the dedication and passion of these improvisers and virtuosos who I work with in the not Balkan world, and let's see what happens if I put them into this Balkan musical vocabulary. What can we make? Because I also felt like the creative music folks were really missing the social connection and the social expression. And what does it mean to move somebody? Literally, you know, there's a reason we use that. Like, there's so many ways to move people through music, right? And so I was like, let's get into it. Let's see if we can put it together. And that was the start of that. And Golden Festival in 1999 was our first performance ever.
Wow.
At that point, we were a 5-piece band, and that was how the band started. So Golden Festival has been a huge influence on me and on Slavic Soul Party. And our second gig was a few months later at Tonic, when Tonic was a brand new club down the Lower East Side. And we just went from there. And now we've been playing every Tuesday night at Bar Best for over 22 years. People should come and hang out some Tuesday night. But make sure you get to Golden Festival on January 16th and 17th so you can see what the big context of this music is in New York City.
Yeah. And then musically, like, are those mostly your compositions or band members' compositions?
It's about a 1/3 division between music that I write, Balkan music, either traditional or modern, that I arrange in some sort of very me way, which might not be the way folks in the Balkans would care to hear it or imagine it. And then a third of it is traditional repertoire that we enjoy and play and love. And my motto is in it, not on it. I don't want to put a this on that, you know. I want to sort of be original and authentic to ourselves and creative from a place of some sort of understanding. So, you know, we travel to the Balkans and we study and have mentor relationships with bands over there, especially in Serbia and Macedonia. And at the same time, we try to be respectful to everyone involved, which means don't just scheme on their business, you know, put yourself into it, be creative, and bring yourself to it as much as they bring themselves to it, right? So it's a very fine and hard to describe balance of stuff, but I feel like if you do it with sincerity and honesty and thinking about power dynamics and relationships and how to be kind and cool and respectful, it works out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think if you didn't have the right intentions, the thing wouldn't have held together for 2 decades. Right. You know, so how is it, or, you know, that first time when you actually brought the band out to that region, like how was it received?
Well, that's an interesting question. I remember specifically one time playing a festival in South Serbia called the Vlasinsko Leto Festival. There's a poster behind me on the wall right now. And it's a competition. It's one of the regional competitions before the big national Serbian trumpet competition, brass band competition called colloquially called Gucha. And this is where they weed out some of the bands from southern Serbia. And so we went to listen, of course, and we were also invited to perform, but not as part of the competition, just as sort of like the general interest listening. So we performed there on the stage in the schoolyard blacktop with a mostly Roma audience. And, you know, this was a very important moment for me. I was very nervous and eager to present us in our best possible way. We played original material, and we also played some modern music that had become standards from that community and for that community. And got off stage, and I said to mentor tuba player friend named Chadim, I said to him, Chadim, tell me honestly, what did you think? And he said, Matt, you are very good, but you play a very different style from us. And I was like, oh, I just tried to show my respect for your style by trying to play it exactly as I thought you did. So that was a wonderful awakening, because it helped me realize, look, no matter what you try and do, if you're not of that culture, if you're not there doing it, being in it, you're not going to sound like that culture, right? And you can get really close, but there's always a difference, and there's no harm in embracing that difference at the same time that you strive, for that asymptotic perfection, right? Of the line getting closer and closer. So in general, among musicians, that's been my experience. They're like, ooh, that's really interesting what you're doing. It's not quite our thing, but it's cool and we respect it. Folks who are not musicians often get confused over there, and they're like, oh, you sound just like a Balkan band. You sound just like you're from here. And I'm like, okay, I know you're not a musician now, because now I can hear that you don't hear the little details, right? And then folks in New York often think, oh, this must be what Balkan bands sound like. And they don't realize we don't actually sound like a Balkan band. Although I do want to say, we have a Roma accordion wizard named Peter Stan in our band, who is of that culture and does play in that style and plays for the Roma and Romanian and Serbian and Balkan diaspora communities, here in New York. And he really does have that sound, and he is of that scene. And he's a little like, patina on our chipped facade that we drag around.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Every time on your recordings, when he takes a solo or whatever, it's just like it elevates things. Yeah, it's very interesting, because I think a lot of the musicians in our kind of collective circles, for whatever reasons, maybe we all kind of grew up in the United States and felt there might not have been enough of our own culture to lead on to make a musical identity or something. So a lot of us went to all different corners of the world to, find something real, find something deeper, find something. And then it does come back to that thing where, like, eventually, like, you realized in front of that Roma audience that, like, you can't be anything but yourself, and then you might as well do that.
Right. And it can take a long time to figure out what yourself is, right? When people ask me, like, well, what musical culture do you come from? I'm like, I don't know. I grew up in northeastern Connecticut, listening to NPR and college radio and feeling totally disconnected and alienated from all the mainstream musical cultures around me. And, so, like, I don't know what, that's it's one of the things I love and appreciate about New York City is just all the beautiful, deep musicians from all over the world who are here with their ears open, trying new things, dedicating themselves to old things, and just, being open to whatever emotional and artistic truth feels right in the moment. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
so
and there's so many great musicians who aren't even performing who are at Golden Fest. I saw David Byrne was there last year.
Yep.
I saw
he's a regular. He's been showing up for years. Yeah.
I saw those Gnawa musicians were there to listen.
Right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
And it's music, just like we have audience from all over the world. It is music from all over the world. It's not just the Balkans. And I think that sort of openness and generosity of spirit is part of how this festival has managed to both hold on to its identity and its roots while changing dramatically over 40 years, right?
Mm.
From going from this very niche insular thing to being a big tent for a lot of people. Basically, if people feel that their music is connected to the Balkans or Eastern Europe in some way, they're given an opportunity to make that case and get a slot on the festival. So it brings a lot of influences and ideas and ways of expressing and appreciating music and dance into the festival in a way that keeps it just a little mysterious. You never know what you're going to find and what you're going to go hear. I mean, you know, some of the classic things you hear. There's going to be a bunch of great brass bands playing very funky, driving, Balkan-y sounding music. But there's going to be a lot of other stuff that we don't even necessarily know what it's going to sound like right now.
Yeah, and that was my first experience hearing like the kind of polyphonic choir type things in person, which is always special.
Yeah.
And then I mean there's Greek stuff, there's Middle Eastern stuff, there's klezmer stuff.
Yeah.
And, like
Exactly.
I always feel that, you know, like I think it was a year or two ago when you played the Ragas Live Festival. Like that's always been a similar ethos where it's great to bring something that's supposedly outside the genre so that you can actually see that there's a synaptic connection, because there is, and there always is, you know, because music just travels, you know, like nothing else across the world. You know, like if a musician catches something when they're on a boat, they're going to bring it back home.
Right.
You know, so these ideas are really flying, and I think that's like that moment of like revelation when you're like, wow, you know, to someone they might think that klezmer music is just Jewish music, but then they hear the Roma band right after, and they're like, wow, that's pretty damn similar.
Right.
You know.
Right. I fully agree with you, and I love that mystery and sort of elusive connections, and then just the opportunity it gives us to remember, like, oh, we're just talking about sound and time, and if you have a drone and a scale and a rhythm, like basically that's like 92% of the DNA of most of this music.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. And so the rhythms, what are the, like, in your bands, like, kind of go to like different rhythms, like,
Are we doing this, David? Are we getting into the odd meter conversation?
I guess so. As
Okay, let's do it. Come on.
Listeners drop off.
Go ahead, do your worst. Let's hear it.
No, I'm curious. Like, how many different things are you guys jumping into? Like
different things, different
like you're jumping into, like, is there like a 10 beat cycle that's very common, or a 7 beat or 9 beat, or
yeah.
Like all that.
We play a bunch of 9 beat cycles, 9/8 rhythms. If you ever count to 9 while you're playing them, something is really wrong, right? Like these are things that involve counting to 9 in this musical world. But yeah, it's all dance music. It's felt in very simple, repetitive phrases, but there are all these exciting ways to vary it. So play lots of 9s, lots of 7s, and of course lots of 4s or 2s, depending on how you feel that. And that's the vast majority of what we do. There are some odd other things that if you're going to write down, you'd write down an 11, or you'd write down in an asymmetrical 12 and stuff like that. But the vast majority is 4s, 7s, or 9s.
So one cool, really successful project that you did, that recording where you did the Duke Ellington suite with Matt. So I'm just curious. I mean, what did you learn about kind of Duke Ellington's compositions? Because you probably had to dive in kind of pretty deep.
Oh my God, that was such a magical mystery tour, man. The hours I spent with the headphones just clamped to my ears, listening into the heart of those horn sections and being like, all right, I have less than half the number of horns he has and he's writing for. How do I get in there and find out what the most essential intervallic relationships and the most essential melodies are here and the most essential timbres, and how do I find that essence and then tweak it? That was just, I feel like, one of my deepest apprenticeships in music. I really love that process, and I have such deep respect and admiration for not just Duke Ellington, but Billy Strayhorn and all those musicians. Because as anyone who knows Duke's band knows, like it, his music wouldn't sound like his music without those players, right? So, so yeah, I poured myself in, tried to identify what I thought was the sort of crux of what drew me into those compositions, and in doing that, you like this one song he wrote. I think he would pronounce it Depka. He wrote it Depk, and that's like Depka or Debka or Dabka, which is a very traditional dance. I think he described in the liner notes having seen it in Lebanon, and he described it as it's a 3-measure dance, and he wrote music that has all these 3-bar musical phrases in it. And so I could see him as I'm writing this down. I can see like his mind, making these connections between watching the dance and what he's writing. And so it was just really fun and beautiful to do that. When I got down to the heart of arranging that music for Slavic Soul Party, I was like, look, here's what we're going to do. Duke Ellington's tour of what they called, the Far East. They were not in the Far East. It was cut short when they were in Ankara, Turkey, by the assassination of JFK back home. They were on a State Department tour of jazz ambassadorship, and the State Department shut that down. And they're like, we cannot move from this spot right now. We don't know what's happening at home, and we're certainly not going to perform jazz music, this, party music for people at this time. And Duke Ellington, who's a Washington, D.C. native who felt very, I think, connected to a lot of what JFK was doing, was like, what are you talking about? I would like to write an elegy for JFK. We'll stay here for a few days. I'll write it, and we can continue the tour, and we'll perform that. And in their racist and white supremacist and ignorant ways, the folks who were making these calls at the State Department were like, no, jazz is just not appropriate, totally not understanding the genius that Duke Ellington, had to offer the world. So I was like, well, what if we take this music and imagine it from the point of view of musicians he might have heard on the rest of his trip? As he went into Greece, they were supposed to go up into the Balkans. I'm confident he would have heard bands like these Balkan brass bands there. I was like, what if we imagine the sounds of Duke Ellington from the point of view of a Balkan band discovering exotic American music? Like, what would that sound like? And so I recast those tunes in that way, and that's how we came up with that interpretation of that music.
That's awesome, man. Congrats. I mean, that was...
And I didn't do it alone. Peter Hess arranged one of the most challenging and thorny tunes. He's our woodwind player, and a man who's played trumpet with us over the years a few times, and it's a dear friend named Jonas Mueller. He arranged one or two for me, so I had allies. And as always, who better than Duke Ellington to help you realize, like, the more people you include, and keep close to you, the richer your sound is going to be. So
yeah, and it's really interesting, like what you're saying about how he not only did the musicians define his music, but he wrote for those specific musicians too, right? And I guess you do a little of that yourself when you're at least.
Of course, yeah. I'm always thinking about what these folks are gonna feel playing these lines. And sometimes it's like, yeah, they're not going to like that, but I need them to do it for the for the greater good of this piece. It doesn't mean you write always what they're going to want to play, right? But you think about them all the time, you know, and you do. Of course, you want to make them happy. You want them to enjoy playing the music. So
Right. But I mean, the great democratic thing about dance music is you don't have to wonder whether they liked it or not, because you know they're either
right. Right. I always feel horrible for brass band audiences that have to be seated in auditoriums or something like that. It is just the most torturous way to experience brass band music. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I tried to play something like I saw my parents and I was all amped up after one of the festivals, and I don't know what I was getting into, but I was getting into some Balkan stuff, and like I tried to play for my mom, and I don't remember exactly her comment about how badly like basically I don't know, she said, I think this one, she's like, I think I could take this for about 3 minutes or something like that. Because it's true, you have to be in it. It's not like
you can't resist it. Yeah, if you have to sit there and resist it, that will just wear you down. Sure.
Yeah.
There is a yeah. There are a lot of ways to experience and appreciate the music. We have done school performances, and I'll never forget getting a card from one of these kids after the fact that said something like, thank you for the music. It was really great and kind of annoying, but I still enjoyed it. I was like, I get it. I totally get it, kid. It can be a lot. But sometimes when you get that band going and you're in the room and everyone's energy is just carrying you along, you can go in thinking you are not up for it, and you will find that you have the time of your life. And that's I have had that experience many times at Golden Festival, I have to say, because I often end up playing with 4, 5, 6 different bands at night. I'll be tired. I'll be running from one side of the festival to the other, being like, gotta get to, and I'll be like, I can't stop and listen to this. And then I just can't help it. You gotta stop. You gotta dance a little. You gotta dig it.
Yeah. And you have to ride the wave, as you're saying. Yeah. That's like right. Resistance is futile or annoying, at least.
Or it just means you're in the wrong room. Go to another room.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, for people who haven't been to Golden Fest, I don't know how many rooms they're at right now. What is it? Maybe 5 or so?
I think there are 4 rooms that are programmed for the entirety of the festival. It could be 4 or 5. And, you listen, and sometimes you need a break, and you go into the food room and you get something to eat, or you go over to the bar, get something to drink, or you peruse all the crafts that people are selling in the craft hall, and it's just great.
Yeah. And the set, like, another thing is that there's not this third wall between the audience and the musicians, especially with the brass bands. You guys are set up right in the center of the room.
Right.
And the mic, the PA is what, like a single mic or something like that. So it's just, it's completely immersive for everybody. Yeah,
that's one of the beautiful aspects of the Balkan brass tradition, I think, is that that sort of the energy you get when you're playing, often outside, but you're playing close together so everyone can hear each other and be together, and the dancers are just circling right around you. That's just a wonderful, unique feeling.
Well, this show got me psyched. I'm like more sold. I'm
like
more excited.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to let people know about this, because I do really think that Golden Festival is one of the defining, amazing things we get as New York City residents or people who come to the city. It is such a unique, special, beautiful, joyful explosion in the dark of winter, that every year people come, no matter what's going on in the world, people come, and we do this every year. And it's a chance to, as I said, to hold hands if you feel like doing that in the circle, and look across and see who's there and be in community with folks. I find it very nourishing and very important to my sense of the cycle of the year at this point, and I know a lot of other people do too. 40th year, 40th anniversary. Can't believe we're still doing it.
Yeah, unbelievable. And you've been a big part of it. So yeah, I mean, I bet, is it thousands? It could be tens of thousands of people who first heard this kind of music, you know, through going to Barbez on a Tuesday over the years, and then, you know, and then they got sucked into the vortex.
Right.
So,
and by the same token, there are a lot of people who discover like these Balkan music and dance camps that I'm talking about that are run by the East European Folk Life Center. Discovered that by coming to Golden Festival, and there are a lot of bands that have had their first performances ever at Golden Festival, like Slavic Soul Party, like a lot of other bands. So yeah, it's a whole wonderful supporting and intersectional community in that way, and I really appreciate all the folks, because as some of your listeners may not understand, Golden Festival is a volunteer effort, entirely volunteer in terms of the performers, the organizers. Of course, the sound crew are paid. They're doing hard work and getting a lot of equipment in there, but all the performers are volunteering their time. And that way it's a very beautiful and egalitarian thing. It's part of what makes it such a unique festival.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many musicians do you think, what's the count at?
Oh my God. If I had to guess, well, I know on Saturday night, there's usually about 50 bands. So, you know, I don't know, what is probably, I don't know, 400, 500 musicians.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a recipe for a good time.
Man, it's great to talk to you.
Yeah. 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 Really fun. And yeah, thanks for all your body of work and for holding it down, keeping the best of New York City, the best of New York City. So
thanks for saying that. Likewise. And the Ragas Live Festival is another one of these just amazing, unique things. So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. All right. So we will see you and hopefully many of our listeners at Golden Fest. It's coming up soon.
Right on, for sure.
All right. Thanks for your time, man. It was fun.
Take care. Take care,
All right,
David.
take care.